The void stretched endlessly, a tapestry of stars glimmering like molten diamonds. Among them, a lone cruiser, sleek and polished, cut through the darkness with purpose. Its name, Aurelius, glowed faintly along the hull in Earth script, a simple marker of its origin. On board, humanity's first official envoys to the Grand Galaxy Council braced themselves for what no human had dared before, stepping into the heart of a civilization that had ruled the stars for thousands of cycles. At the helm stood Ambassador Kale Rin, a man whose calm authority radiated even without a word. His dark hair framed eyes that had memorized countless alien histories and studied the nuances of civilizations far older than Earth. With him were two companions equally formidable in their own right. Lyra Voss, strategist and negotiator, had a mind as sharp as any crystal blade, capable of reading the unspoken intentions of beings whose lifespans exceeded human imagination. Draven Solis, artist and cultural envoy, carried the heart of humanity, intuition, creativity, and the uncanny ability to translate emotion across the languages of the cosmos. The three Earthborn diplomats were silent as the cruiser approached the orbit of Valerian, the star around which the legendary council spire floated. It was a structure beyond human imagination, a tower of translucent crystal that spiraled into space, refracting the light of the surrounding stars into prismatic displays. From the surface, it was already visible across the system. Up close, it shimmered like liquid light. It was both a palace and a fortress, a place where civilizations older than most planets debated, schemed, and ruled. "This is it," Kale murmured, his voice steady despite the weight pressing down on him. "Our first step into the galaxy's true heart. One misstep, and Earth could be dismissed before we even begin." Lyra placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "We've prepared for this. Remember, we're not just representing Earth, we're showing them what humanity is capable of. They will not expect subtlety from us, only results." Draven, ever the dreamer, stared out the viewport. "It's breathtaking. All those civilizations, their histories carved into the stars themselves. And soon, they'll see humans among them." The Luminary Guard, the Council's elite sentries, greeted them upon docking. Tall, slender beings whose translucent skin glowed faintly with internal light, they moved in synchrony, inspecting every inch of the Aurelius as though it were a living creature. Their gaze lingered on the humans, assessing, calculating, judging. These were not beings swayed by charm. They measured presence, intention, and potential. Once cleared, the humans were led into the Council spire. The interior was even more extraordinary than the exterior suggested. Towering columns of crystal stretched upward into invisible heights, and holographic archives hovered mid-air, showing the histories, philosophies, and treaties of countless civilizations. Every surface reflected knowledge accumulated over millennia. Kale's eyes scanned the assembly hall as they entered. Delegates of unimaginable diversity filled the vast chamber. There were beings whose forms shimmered like living light, insectoid empires encased in natural carapace armor, and others so alien they defied description. Whispers ran through the council corridors. Humans, fragile, young, untested humans, had arrived. Many scoffed, some were curious, a few watched with a cautious reverence. The Earth delegation advanced with measured steps, each stride carrying not arrogance, but the quiet confidence of preparation. They were small in comparison to the towering delegates, but there was something different about them, a spark of unpredictability, a hint of raw potential. The council chamber opened into a circular dais, where High Arbitrator Zathra presided. Her form was radiant, a swirling mass of energy and crystal, her presence commanding attention without a single sound. Around her, the galaxy's oldest delegates observed. Vorin the architect, whose mind had designed entire planetary systems. Selun of the celestial choir, whose voice carried the music of creation itself. And Krothes, keeper of the void, a being who existed as both thought and shadow. Each looked at the humans not with curiosity, but with the weight of centuries' worth of expectation. Kale stepped forward, his voice echoing softly across the chamber. "Honorable delegates of the Grand Galaxy Council, we are the first envoys from Earth. Our world is young, its history brief compared to yours. Yet we come with a spirit that has endured the trials of survival, curiosity that has driven us to the stars, and a desire to learn from you, the guardians of this galaxy. We seek not dominion but dialogue. We seek understanding, and we offer our own, humanity's unique perspective, to the Council." Lyra followed, her tone precise and measured. "Our species may lack your centuries of experience, but we possess creativity, resilience, and a capacity for adaptation that has enabled us to thrive against odds that would defeat older civilizations. We come as partners willing to learn, to contribute, and to prove that Earth has a place in this assembly. A murmur ran through the chamber. Some delegates tilted their crystalline heads, others merely blinked, energy forms shifting in subtle patterns, but all were alert. Earth had spoken boldly, yet words alone were not enough to impress those whose civilizations had lasted eons. Draven stepped forward last, his voice calm but carrying an edge of passion. History is filled with species underestimated. Yet it is often those very species who shape the course of the future. We may be young, but we are unafraid. Observe us not as fragile newcomers, but as a challenge you may not yet understand. A silence followed, heavy and potent. The High Arbitrator's eyes, or whatever passed for eyes in her radiant form, studied them. Slowly she nodded, a gesture that sent ripples through the hall. The council would not reject them outright, but the challenge was clear. Earth's envoys would be tested, scrutinized, and measured against civilizations that had mastered the stars long before humanity had even left its homeworld. Kale exchanged a glance with Lyra and Draven. There was no room for doubt now. They were not simply diplomats. They were humanity's first proof that the species was capable of standing among the ancient stars. As the humans were escorted deeper into the spire, the lights of Valerian reflecting off the crystal walls like liquid fire, Draven whispered under his breath, almost to himself, "Let them watch, then. Let them see what humans can do." The first steps had been taken. Earth had arrived at the Grand Galaxy Council, and the galaxy was about to witness the arrival of a species that refused to be underestimated. The stage was set, the players introduced, and the game, cosmic in scale, was about to begin. The chamber of the Grand Galaxy Council was vast beyond comprehension. Crystal towers spiraled into impossible heights, and a soft hum of energy vibrated through the floor, resonating with the very thoughts of those within. Delegates hovered, walked, or drifted, their forms as diverse as the planets they represented. Every surface reflected histories older than most stars, and every eye, or equivalent, was trained on the newcomers. Ambassador Kale Rin, flanked by Lyra Voss and Draven Solis, moved deliberately toward the central dais. The human's presence, small and unassuming by interstellar standards, drew attention nonetheless. Whispers traveled across species. Humans, untested, bold. Some chuckled softly at the audacity of a species that had only recently mastered spaceflight. Others leaned forward, curiosity piqued. At the heart of the assembly floated High Arbitrator Zathra, her form a shimmering vortex of light and crystal. She radiated authority not through intimidation, but through sheer existence, an embodiment of the galaxy's accumulated wisdom. Around her, other ancient delegates regarded the humans with subtle, measured scrutiny. Vorin the Architect, a tall, angular being whose body resembled shifting crystalline structures, tilted his head. He had designed entire planetary systems, his mind capable of calculating probabilities in dimensions the humans could not perceive. His gaze carried centuries of experience and the skepticism of one who had never seen a species rise so quickly. Selûne of the Celestial Choir was more enigmatic. Her voice, though silent for now, vibrated through the hall like distant music. Each note resonated with unspoken authority, commanding attention and respect. Crothes, Keeper of the Void, existed almost outside of form, a shadow within the light, observing all without revealing emotion. He was the judge of potential and danger, his judgment often silent but absolute. Kale cleared his throat, stepping forward as the echoes of their arrival faded. "Honorable delegates of the Grand Galaxy Council," he began, his voice steady yet carrying the weight of humanity's ambition. "We come from a world young in age but resilient in spirit. Earth has endured countless trials to reach this point, and we arrive not to demand recognition, but to offer dialogue and understanding. We seek to learn from you, and to show that humanity is a species capable of meaningful contribution to the galaxy." A low murmur ran through the chamber. Some of the older delegates tilted or shimmered in subtle amusement. Others remained impassive as if weighing Kale's words against eons of experience. Lyra Voss stepped forward, her expression composed and precise. "We understand that words alone carry little weight in a council such as this. Our species may lack the age of yours, but we possess creativity, adaptability, and resilience, qualities that have allowed us to survive and thrive in hostile environments. We come ready to prove that humanity has value beyond mere survival." Selûne's faint resonance rippled through the hall, a sound akin to musical inquiry. The humans felt it as a pressure in their minds, subtle but undeniable. It was a test, not of speech but of intent. Draven Solis, with his calm yet piercing gaze, added softly, History is filled with species underestimated. Often, it is the underestimated who shape the future. Humanity may be young, but we are unafraid. Observe us not as fragile newcomers, but as a species with the potential to influence the galaxy's course. The council fell silent. Even the whispers ceased. Time seemed to stretch as Zathra regarded them, her form twisting with consideration. Slowly she spoke, her voice reverberating like a chorus of stars, bold words, Earthborn. Yet the galaxy is not moved by speech alone. We will measure your species, for courage untested is no proof of wisdom. You have stepped into a realm where only endurance, intellect, and ingenuity carry weight. Kale nodded, accepting the challenge without hesitation. We are prepared to face whatever trials you deem necessary. Earth is not seeking shortcuts. We will earn our place through action, understanding, and integrity. Voron's crystalline form shifted, casting fractured reflections across the chamber. Many young species have arrived before you, bearing words of promise. Few endure long enough to be remembered. I will be watching closely. A faint ripple of tension passed through the humans. They knew that the council's scrutiny was more than political, it was existential. To fail here was not merely a personal failure. It could mark Earth as irrelevant in the eyes of the galaxy. But Lyra's sharp mind saw opportunity in this scrutiny. Every civilization you watch has achieved greatness, yes, she said quietly to Kale and Draven. But none have yet faced a species whose unpredictability is its greatest asset. Let them underestimate us. They will learn too late that humanity cannot be confined to expectation. Draven's eyes gleamed. And when they do, we will be ready. The High Arbitrator's form shimmered, a subtle acknowledgement that the Council's gaze was not purely hostile. Proceed, humans. Your first steps will be observed closely. The galaxy remembers those who endure, and those who fail are forgotten. Let us see whether Earth's spirit is fleeting or enduring. With that, the humans were escorted from the central dais deeper into the Council spire, where their first trials awaited. Massive holographic archives of history, strategy, and diplomacy glimmered along the walls, promising tests that would challenge not only intellect but morality, creativity, and resolve. As they moved forward, Kale cast one last glance at the chamber, the stars visible through the crystalline walls. This is only the beginning, he whispered. We are here to prove that humanity belongs among the stars. And in that moment, the galaxy seemed to lean in, curious and cautious, as the first humans took their place in the Grand Galaxy Council. A species once overlooked now stood in the eyes of civilizations older than memory itself. The stage was set. The challenge had begun. The first test awaited the humans in a chamber that defied gravity and perception. The labyrinth of logic, as the Council called it, was a sprawling holographic arena designed to challenge intellect, ethics, and ingenuity. Columns of shifting light rose and fell unpredictably, corridors bent in impossible angles, and portals appeared only to vanish moments later. Even the most ancient delegates had to recalibrate their minds to navigate it. Kale, Lyra, and Draven stepped cautiously into the maze, the air thick with energy. Every movement triggered holographic projections, simulations of interstellar crises, moral dilemmas, and intricate negotiations between alien civilizations. It was not merely a puzzle, it was a mirror of the galaxy's complexity, testing whether a species could think, adapt, and survive under pressure. The first scenario appeared, a planet on the verge of civil war, its population divided along ideological lines. Kale analyzed the situation, recognizing patterns reminiscent of human history. We cannot impose order by force, he muttered. We must find a solution that respects autonomy while preventing catastrophe. He instructed Lyra to establish communication channels between the warring factions. Using her strategic insight, she proposed a compromise, shared governance and mutual resource access, a concept that, while simple to humans, was foreign to the alien species in the simulation. The conflict was averted, earning the first measure of respect from the labyrinth itself, which shimmered in approval. Next came a more intricate test, an interstellar trade negotiation involving 5 civilizations, each with conflicting agendas. Lyra stepped forward, her voice calm and precise. We must find an approach that satisfies each faction without compromising fairness, she said. Using Earth-inspired principles of negotiation, trade-offs, empathy, and long-term vision, she crafted an agreement that balanced benefits for all sides. Voron the architect, observing invisibly through the labyrinth, tilted his crystalline form in surprise. Few species could reconcile such disparate interests without triggering conflict, and the humans had done it with elegant simplicity. The third challenge tested human creativity under pressure. A simulation of a star system collapsing under instability threatened to wipe out multiple civilizations. Draven, drawing upon his cultural and artistic understanding, suggested a solution the Council had not anticipated. Using harmonic resonance, a concept derived from music and mathematics, to stabilize the star temporarily. The holographic stars responded, glowing steadily instead of erupting into chaos. Even Selûne of the Celestial Choir seemed to acknowledge the ingenuity, her resonance vibrating softly in approval. But not all tests were easily overcome. Crothes, Keeper of the Void, presented a paradox designed to trap even the brightest minds. Two civilizations' survival was pitted against one another in a scenario with no apparent solution. Kale paused, analyzing the parameters meticulously. Instead of choosing one over the other, he proposed a third alternative, an unconventional solution that leveraged resources both civilizations possessed but had overlooked. The simulation accepted it, the paradox dissolving before Crothes' silent judgment. As the trio progressed, the labyrinth of logic tested more than intellect. Moral dilemmas forced them to consider ethics and empathy in ways no simulation could fully replicate. Each decision reflected not just strategy but the character of a species. The humans' choices emphasized fairness, adaptability, and compassion, qualities the Council valued even if subtly. Hours passed, or perhaps days. Time in the labyrinth was an elastic concept. The final scenario appeared, an unknown crisis threatening an entire cluster of star systems. A rogue AI, left from a long-dead civilization, had begun manipulating gravitational fields, imperiling planets and their populations. Kale, Lyra, and Draven collaborated seamlessly. Kale's tactical thinking neutralized immediate threats, Lyra coordinated the alien civilization's responses, and Draven deciphered the AI's motivations, finding a pattern in its seemingly chaotic behavior. Together, they disabled the threat, saving millions of lives simulated within the chamber. When they emerged from the labyrinth, the humans were physically unchanged, but something had shifted in the Council's perception. Delegates whispered among themselves, their skepticism tempered by undeniable evidence of human potential. Even Vorin the architect, who had watched silently throughout, allowed a small nod of respect to ripple across his crystalline frame. Back in the main chamber, High Arbitrator Zathra's voice resonated like a cosmic chorus. Earthborn, you have navigated the labyrinth of logic with intellect, creativity, and moral clarity. Few species withstand this trial intact. Yet this is only the beginning. The galaxy is vast and challenges will continue beyond this chamber. Prepare yourselves for trials that will test diplomacy, endurance, and the very essence of your species. Kale, Lyra, and Draven exchanged glances. The labyrinth had proven that humanity could survive challenges that dwarfed anything on Earth. Yet they knew more trials awaited, trials that would test not just mind and ethics, but their resilience against political intrigue, manipulation, and age-old prejudices. Draven whispered, a wry smile crossing his face, if this was a test of intellect, I'd hate to see the test of patience. Lyra chuckled softly, though her eyes were sharp. Patience will be key. And cunning. The Council does not simply test skill, they observe character, and they will push us to the limits. Kale's expression hardened with resolve. Then we will meet every challenge. Humanity did not survive to remain insignificant. If the galaxy doubts us, they will learn, through our actions, that humans are a species to be reckoned with. As they left the chamber, the stars outside the spire reflected in their eyes. Each step forward was a step into legend, a moment when the galaxy began to take note of a young species unafraid to face the ancients on their terms. And somewhere in the shadows, unseen but ever watchful, the first seeds of envy and intrigue began to take root among delegates who had underestimated them. Earth's envoys had not merely survived, they had left a mark. The trials had only begun, but already humanity was stirring ripples across civilizations older than memory itself. The glow of the Council spire seemed to dim slightly as the humans walked through its vast halls. Their success in the labyrinth of logic had not gone unnoticed, but admiration was far from universal. Among the delegates, some whispered in dark corners, exchanging glances laced with suspicion and calculation. One such figure was Krythar, a delegate from the militaristic empire of Dravik Prime. His exoskeletal frame gleamed under the crystal lights, and his multifaceted eyes reflected cunning that had taken centuries to perfect. To him, Earth's sudden rise in the Council's esteem was an affront. Fragile humans, he hissed to his advisors. They have survived the first trial by luck, not wisdom. We will ensure they falter before the Council begins to respect them. Krythar's plan was subtle. He began sowing seeds of doubt, whispering rumors about Earth's technological naivety, its young population, and its supposed inability to withstand galactic pressures. Each word was calculated to make even the most open-minded delegates question the humans' reliability. Yet Draven Solis, ever attuned to the currents of perception, sensed the deception before it could take root. During a casual tour of the spire, he subtly displayed Earth's cultural simulations, art, music, and problem-solving scenarios that highlighted human ingenuity. Delegates who had listened to Krythar's insinuations witnessed firsthand the creativity and adaptability of the newcomers. Krythar's attempts to undermine the humans began to unravel silently, turning suspicion into doubt about his motives instead. Meanwhile, Lyra and Kale worked behind the scenes, forging connections with neutral and younger delegates. Lyra's strategic mind saw the importance of alliances. "We cannot confront Krythar directly," she advised Kale. "Influence works in layers. We must show value and reliability, while letting his actions betray him." Kale nodded. "Then we demonstrate competence at every step. Every test, every negotiation, every choice we make must speak louder than his whispers." The human's presence also inspired curiosity among the neutral delegates. Many were fascinated by a species so untested yet able to navigate challenges with creativity and moral clarity. Quiet conversations blossomed into small coalitions of support, and Earth's envoys began to understand that influence in the Council was as much about perception as it was about skill. But Krythar was relentless. He orchestrated a simulated crisis in the Council's hollow conclave, intending to force the humans into a situation designed to expose inexperience. A cluster of unstable star systems, an artificial scenario, was on the brink of gravitational collapse. Delegates were tasked with proposing a solution that saved as many civilizations as possible without sacrificing principles. Kale studied the holographic systems, analyzing patterns and potential outcomes. Lyra coordinated with alien delegates, blending their insights with Earth's ingenuity. Draven deciphered cultural contexts and psychological cues, predicting reactions that no simulation had explicitly provided. Together, they devised a solution that stabilized the cluster, saved the simulated populations, and even enhanced resource distribution for future growth. The success was undeniable. Even Krythar's most loyal supporters began to murmur about Earth's capabilities. The humans' ability to navigate both logic and diplomacy had earned them grudging respect, and, more importantly, attention. Yet the shadows persisted. Krythar's influence extended beyond immediate tests. He whispered into negotiations, challenged Earth's every proposition with subtle delays, and sought to portray their successes as flukes. The humans realized that surviving the Council's trials required more than intellect. It demanded vigilance, foresight, and an understanding of politics older than any human had ever encountered. That night, Kale convened a private meeting with Lyra and Draven in their quarters aboard the Aurelius. "The Council will test us in ways beyond logic and strategy," he said. "We've proven competence, but competence alone is not enough. We need alliances, foresight, and the patience to see hidden threats before they become crises." Lyra's expression was firm. "We've already started. Neutral delegates are watching. They've begun questioning Krythar's motives. Our influence grows, but we must act carefully. One misstep and he will exploit it fully." Draven leaned back, eyes thoughtful. "Humanity has always thrived against the odds. This is no different. We are small but unpredictable. That is our advantage." Kale nodded. "Then we embrace it. The Council underestimated us at their own peril. Krythar may cast shadows, but shadows cannot hide the light of determination. We will rise not by brute force, but by proving that humanity belongs here." As the trio prepared for the next day's council session, the spire itself seemed to pulse with anticipation. The galaxy's oldest civilizations were watching closely, intrigued and cautious. Humans were no longer just observers. They had become a variable that could disrupt centuries of established order. In the corridors, whispers shifted. Some spoke of potential, others of danger. Yet all agreed on one thing: Earth had arrived and its presence could not be ignored. The shadows of intrigue had been cast, but the humans were ready. Their trials had revealed not just intellect and courage, but resilience, creativity, and a spark of unpredictability that no ancient species could control. The game of diplomacy had begun in earnest, and humanity had already made its first mark. The council chamber's atmosphere had shifted. Where once the humans' arrival had been met with curiosity and skepticism, now subtle murmurs of respect, tempered with lingering doubt, followed their every step. The success in the labyrinth of logic and their deft navigation of Krythar's intrigue had made Earth's envoys impossible to ignore. Yet the Grand Galaxy Council had no interest in mere competence. It sought proof that humanity could survive diplomacy in a galaxy older and more complex than the human mind could fully grasp. Their next challenge was called the Gauntlet of Diplomacy, a multi-stage trial designed to test negotiation, moral reasoning, and strategic foresight. It was not a game of intellect alone, it was a battle of perception and influence, conducted across simulated and real interactions with alien civilizations. The first stage involved a trade crisis among three civilizations whose resources were suddenly destabilized by an unpredictable solar flare in their shared system. Each species blamed the others for negligence, and conflict loomed. Lyra Voss stepped forward with the calm precision that had already earned her quiet admiration. "Understanding begins with listening," she reminded Kale and Draven as they entered the chamber. "We cannot impose solutions, we must guide them to consensus." She initiated dialogue with each faction, emphasizing mutual benefits and potential losses if cooperation failed. Using a combination of Earth-inspired negotiation tactics and cultural insights provided by Draven, she crafted a compromise that ensured resource sharing and equitable oversight. The crisis, once poised to ignite war, resolved with minimal tension. Delegates observing the session exchanged surprised glances. The humans were turning simulations of conflict into models of collaboration. The next stage was more subtle. Kale was tasked with mediating a centuries-old feud between two civilizations with deeply incompatible philosophies. One prized logic above all, dismissing emotion as weakness. The other valued empathy and collective harmony. Any misstep could escalate tensions irreversibly. Kale approached the problem as he always did, analytically but with awareness of human intuition. He proposed a hybrid solution that allowed logical governance to operate within an ethical framework, ensuring fairness without undermining cultural values. The Council's observers noted the ingenuity. A species so young could merge opposing ideologies, something even the oldest delegates had struggled to achieve in their own histories. Meanwhile, Draven faced the cultural test. A delegation of non-corporeal beings communicated entirely through emotional resonance, their intentions readable only through subtle vibrations in the surrounding energy. Draven, drawing on human creativity and empathy, translated their language for the Council and the humans' allies, revealing motives that would otherwise have been lost in misinterpretation. This act alone earned nods of recognition from the more conservative delegates, who rarely acknowledged the value of emotional intelligence. The final stage of the gauntlet pushed the humans to their limits, a simulated war scenario where planetary populations were at risk. Unlike previous tests, this required rapid decision-making under stress, balancing moral responsibility with strategic necessity. Kale coordinated defense measures while Lyra negotiated ceasefires and resource allocations. Draven uncovered hidden motivations behind aggressive factions, guiding decisions that avoided unnecessary casualties. The outcome was unprecedented. The simulated conflict concluded with maximum preservation of life, the aggressive factions restructured diplomatically, and the Council recorded the humans' decisions as a model of innovative strategy tempered by ethics. Yet victory did not come without cost. Exhaustion hung over the Earthborn envoys, and the subtle weight of centuries of skepticism lingered in the air. Krythar's shadow loomed still, now attempting to undermine the humans' achievements by sowing doubt in smaller delegations. He whispered that Earth's success was situational, claiming that the humans could not replicate their results outside controlled scenarios. But Lyra, ever perceptive, had anticipated this. She had built alliances quietly, ensuring that neutral delegates were fully aware of Krythar's manipulations. By subtly revealing his duplicity through evidence and strategic persuasion, she turned suspicion back on him without direct confrontation. Kale, observing the Council floor, realized that the gauntlet had taught a lesson beyond diplomacy. Earth was learning to navigate not just logic and ethics but politics itself. Each success in the gauntlet strengthened their position, but each step also revealed how complex and subtle influence in the Council truly was. Draven, exhausted but smiling faintly, whispered as they left the chamber, "Humans are small, yes, but we bend without breaking, adapt without losing our essence. That's something even the ancients have to reckon with." Kale nodded, his eyes reflecting the holographic glow of the Council chambers. "And that is exactly why we survive. The galaxy respects strength, but it remembers adaptability. We are small, unpredictable, and unafraid. That is humanity's advantage." As the humans walked toward the chambers for debriefing, High Arbitrator Zathra's voice echoed faintly, carrying both caution and intrigue. Earthborn, your journey through the gauntlet reveals a species untested yet capable of ingenuity, morality, and resilience. But beware, the Council will continue to probe and the shadows of intrigue grow longer with each step. The stage was set for even greater challenges. Humanity had proven it could negotiate, strategize, and innovate under pressure, but the trials ahead would demand more than intellect and ethics. They would demand courage, trust, and the unyielding spirit that defined humans at their best. In the Grand Galaxy Council, the young Earth delegation was no longer merely an anomaly. They were a rising force, a spark of unpredictability in a galaxy that had long grown comfortable with certainty. And in that spark lay the potential to reshape the perception of humanity forever. The halls of eternity were unlike anything the humans had encountered before. Vast columns of crystalline structures rose into seemingly infinite heights, and the air itself shimmered with accumulated knowledge, resonating with the consciousness of civilizations older than the stars themselves. Here, the Council's most formidable delegates convened, the titans of the galaxy whose combined wisdom and power could decide the fate of entire star systems with a single judgment. Kale Rin, Lyra Voss, and Draven Solis stepped into the hall, their small forms dwarfed by the grandeur of the chamber. Every surface reflected holographic histories, wars, treaties, and innovations of civilizations whose lifespans spanned millennia. The Council's titans observed them silently, their presence both overwhelming and precise. High Arbitrator Zathra's form glowed with heightened intensity, and beside her hovered Vorin the Architect, Saloon of the Celestial Choir, and Krothes, Keeper of the Void. Additional delegates, even older and more obscure, regarded the humans with a mixture of curiosity, calculation, and subtle menace. Each titan had witnessed countless civilizations rise and fall, yet here were three humans, a species young and untested, demanding attention on equal footing. The confrontation began with a challenge unlike any before, a moral and strategic debate encompassing ethics, resource allocation, and interstellar governance. Each argument the humans made would be dissected not only for logic but for underlying principles and implications across multiple civilizations. Zathra's voice resonated like a symphony of stars. Earthborn, your successes in simulations and negotiation are noted. Yet you must now prove that your species can think not only strategically, but ethically and long-term, across scales you cannot yet fully comprehend. Kale stepped forward, his voice firm but calm. Honorable delegates, humanity is young, but our species has faced extinction, adversity, and uncertainty throughout its history. We have survived not by strength alone, but by adaptability, creativity, and a willingness to learn. Our approach is not merely tactical, it considers the welfare of all parties involved, balancing innovation with responsibility. Vorin inclined his crystalline form, challenging Kale with a mental projection of probabilities and outcomes spanning hundreds of star systems. Yet, young human, your species' experience is limited. How can you be certain your actions will not inadvertently destabilize others? One mistake could ripple across civilizations for centuries. Kale met the projection with calm reasoning. We cannot anticipate every variable, but we can act with principles that prioritize stability, fairness, and collaboration. Humanity thrives on problem-solving in uncertainty. We do not seek to impose dominance, but to navigate challenges with insight, humility, and integrity. Saloon's resonant voice added another layer of pressure, projecting harmonic dissonances that mirrored the emotional stakes of millions across simulated worlds. Draven stepped forward, translating subtle cues into strategies that addressed both logic and empathy, revealing solutions that neither human nor alien mind alone could have conceived. Finally, Krothes tested them with a scenario designed to provoke moral compromise, two civilizations at risk, but with conflicting demands and limited resources. The humans' decision would define their ethical credibility. Kale and Lyra deliberated, considering probabilities, moral responsibility, and historical consequences. Draven proposed a solution that utilized cooperation, hidden resources, and innovative thinking, creating an outcome that preserved life, honor, and stability. The Council observed silently, their judgment weighing heavily upon the humans. Moments passed in tense silence, until Zathra's form shimmered approvingly. Earthborn, your reasoning demonstrates insight, adaptability, and ethical consideration beyond what many mature species achieve. Yet the Council's gaze is ever vigilant. Continue to prove your place not through rhetoric, but through action. Krythar, ever the antagonist, tried one last subtle attack, questioning the humans' loyalty and capacity for leadership. But the allies Lyra had quietly cultivated earlier spoke in defense, revealing the duplicity and hidden motives behind his whispers. The balance shifted. For the first time, Krythar's influence weakened visibly before the council. Kale, Lyra, and Draven realized the magnitude of the moment. They were no longer just participants. They had become recognized as a species capable of holding their own among titans. Their arguments, decisions, and innovations had not only survived scrutiny but had impressed delegates who had seen civilizations rise and fall over millennia. Draven whispered to his companions as they exited the halls of eternity, "We've done more than survive. We've shown that humans can think, adapt, and act where even ancient species might hesitate." Lyra's sharp eyes scanned the council chamber, noting subtle nods and cautious glances from even the oldest delegates. "Yes. But this is only the beginning. The galaxy will continue to test us. Every decision, every alliance, every move will matter. Our next steps must be as precise as our actions have been bold." Kale's expression hardened with resolve. "Then we proceed, not with fear, but with the certainty that humanity has proven itself capable. The Titans have seen potential in a species they once dismissed. That is our first true victory." As the humans departed the chamber, the crystalline structures of the halls of eternity seemed to shimmer with approval, or perhaps curiosity. Earth had faced the galaxy's oldest, most powerful minds and emerged with credibility, respect, and most importantly, a presence the Council could not ignore. The confrontation of Titans had tested intellect, morality, and ingenuity. It had proven that a young species could, against all odds, stand alongside the ancient stars. And while the journey was far from over, humanity had taken its most significant step yet toward earning a permanent place among the galaxy's ruling civilizations. The council chambers were silent, a rare stillness that stretched across the crystalline expanse of the Grand Galaxy Council. Earth's envoys, Kale Rin, Lyra Voss, and Draven Solis, stood at the central dais, their posture calm but alert. The trials had been long and unrelenting. The labyrinth of logic, the gauntlet of diplomacy, and the confrontation with the Titans themselves. Yet every challenge had honed their skills, solidified their alliances, and demonstrated the core strength of humanity: resilience, creativity, and unyielding determination. High Arbitrator Zathra floated above them, her radiant form pulsating with authority. Around her the delegates, some curious, some skeptical, others impressed, observed intently. This was the moment of judgment, when the Council would decide whether Earth's young species would earn a permanent place among civilizations that had shaped galaxies for millennia. Zathra's voice reverberated through the hall like a chorus of stars. "Earthborn, you have endured trials designed to challenge intellect, morality, and diplomacy. You have navigated complex crises, reconciled opposing civilizations, and demonstrated insight that surpasses expectation for a species so young. The Council has deliberated, and your performance cannot be ignored." Whispers rippled across the chamber. Even delegates who had doubted Earth's capabilities exchanged cautious glances, realizing that the humans had not only survived, they had influenced outcomes in ways no one anticipated. Zathra continued, "The Council grants Earth observer status, with a path toward full representation. You are to be acknowledged as a species capable of contributing to galactic stability, innovation, and diplomacy. Let this recognition serve as both opportunity and responsibility. The galaxy watches, and your actions henceforth will define your legacy." Kale stepped forward, his voice steady. "Honorable delegates, we accept this responsibility with humility and resolve. Humanity does not seek dominion over others. We seek collaboration, understanding, and the chance to contribute meaningfully to the galaxy's future. We pledge to act with integrity, to learn from you, and to honor the trust the Council places in us." Lyra added, her tone precise and confident, "We also recognize the vigilance required. The galaxy is vast and our species is young. We will not falter in the face of challenge, nor will we ignore the lessons of history. Earth stands ready to earn its place through action, not words alone." Draven, smiling faintly, spoke last. "Observe humanity not as a fragile newcomer, but as a species capable of creativity, resilience, and bold thinking. We are small, yes, but within that smallness lies the potential to surprise, to adapt, and to endure." A hush fell over the chamber. Slowly, one by one, the delegates nodded or shimmered in acknowledgement. Even Krythar, the persistent antagonist, had no words to undermine the humans' accomplishments. Earth's presence had been legitimized not by dominance, but by the unmistakable display of ingenuity, ethics, and unyielding spirit. As the Council concluded its session, the humans were escorted through the Spire's halls one last time. Everywhere they went, delegates observed with new respect. What had begun as curiosity and skepticism had transformed into cautious admiration. Humanity was no longer a footnote in galactic politics. It was a variable that could influence events, inspire alliances and challenge assumptions. Draven whispered as they gazed out at the stars beyond the spire, "We've only just begun." They've seen what humans can do in tests, but the galaxy hasn't seen what we are capable of when fully engaged. Lyra smiled faintly. And now we have the platform. Every action we take, every alliance we build, every choice we make, it will shape not only Earth's future, but our reputation among civilizations that have endured longer than we can imagine. Kale placed a hand on the railing overlooking the shimmering expanse of the galaxy. Let them watch then. Humanity has arrived. The galaxy knows our name and they will learn in time that to underestimate us is to risk being surprised. As the humans departed the Grand Galaxy Council, the stars themselves seemed to shine brighter in acknowledgement. A species once considered inconsequential had proven itself capable of standing shoulder to shoulder with titans. The trials had forged not just respect but a promise. Earth was no longer an observer alone, it was a participant ready to leave its mark on the galaxy. The journey had been arduous, the challenges formidable and the opposition relentless. Yet in the end Earth had earned its place not through force but through courage, intellect and the unyielding spirit that defined humanity. The galaxy had changed. The humans had changed it. And the story of Earth's rise among the stars was only beginning.